Hi, everyone. Welcome to the No Fear Job Search Virtual Summit. This is our last day. So if you're joining us for your first session today, we're really happy to have you here. If you've attended our other sessions this week, we're so glad. You will be able to catch all the recordings of all of the sessions on our YouTube channel later this week. I'm Paige Lewanig. If you have seen some of the other sessions this week, I may have been hosting them. I have been with Jobscan for more than 6 years. I think at this point, I'm one of two, other than our CEO, one of two of the longest standing Jobscan employees. So I feel really passionately about our tools. I know how to use them very well. I've seen so many user success stories, and my goal is always just to teach our users how to use Jobscan in the most effective way. So before we go any farther, I do want to remind you that we are offering a 20% off Jobscan promo code this week, Jobscan Premium, that is. And the code is www.jobscan.co/promo/nofear2022. And it should be at the top of your screen. If it's not right now, we'll share it with you later. And I will also be sharing the giveaway code word with you a little bit later on. We did have another session scheduled this afternoon that I was supposed to be leading, but we had some scheduling issues come up, and this will be the last session of the day. However, we're kind of combining this session with that one, so you'll still be learning everything you would have been in that session. So don't worry about that. You won't be missing anything. And if you are registered for that session, you will still be getting that code word for the sweepstakes later on this afternoon. Okay, so this is going to be all about how to get the most out of Jobscan. I run a How to Use Jobscan webinar every month. If you've attended that, this may be some repeat information for you, but I'm also going to be talking about some new things as well. One of the biggest differences between that presentation and this one is that we actually had real Jobscan users send us some of their resumes, and we chose one to optimize live here with you. So you'll actually be able to see me go through a resume and take it from the starting match rate to a higher match rate. And then I'll show you some of our other tools like Power Edit and LinkedIn optimization, which is probably my favorite tool. So before I actually get into Jobscan, I just want to share this short slide deck with you guys, just to teach you a little bit about why Jobscan is important and kind of what the modern job search is like. That reminds me, someone just asked a question. Please feel free to put any questions in the Q&A. I may look at that throughout the presentation. Otherwise, I'm sure we'll have some time for a Q&A at the end. I am going to keep this pretty casual, so feel free to ask any questions, and I'll try to just jump in and look at those. Okay, so like I said, the modern job search is a whole lot different than it used to be. I know even 10 years ago, when I was first applying for jobs, the job application process looked a lot different than it does now. And the biggest reason for that is just online applications. So online applications make it super easy for anybody to just hit submit with the same resume over and over again, which means rather than applying to 5 jobs, you can apply to 50 jobs in one day. What that means is that there's a lot more competition for every job that you're applying for because everybody else is also applying for it. So here are some stats that we've picked up from our research. About 250 applicants apply for every job listing. 99% of Fortune 500 companies use an ATS or an applicant tracking system to source candidates. If you are familiar with Jobscan, if you've been with us for a little while, you've heard a lot about ATS. That's what we try to focus on the most, is helping you optimize your resume for those applicant tracking systems, just to make sure that recruiters and hiring managers can find your resume. So we also know that when a recruiter does finally see your resume, they only have about 6 or 7 seconds to scan each resume. About 2% of applicants get interviews, and of course, only 1 person gets hired. So applicant tracking systems, they're just a software that are used by companies to assist with human resources, including recruitment and hiring. it's really easy to think about these ATS as the bad guys, but they actually are just a really useful organization tool for the hiring manager or recruiter. So instead of thinking about, trying to beat the ATS, you should think of it more as trying to give the ATS all the information it needs to make sure that your resume is visible. So what this means for you, what does an ATS mean for you? It means that recruiters and hiring managers don't look at every resume or application. If they do find you in the ATS, then they'll look at your resume. But unless your resume is searchable by them, which means that it includes keywords and formatting that are necessary for the ATS, then they probably won't see your resume. So like I said, if your resume doesn't rank well or come up in the ATS search, it's possible that the recruiter won't even see it. So optimizing your resume for ATS. You want to create an ATS friendly resume, and this is all about formatting. So you want to make sure that it doesn't include tables, text boxes, weird fonts, or unconventional formatting. And that's because when you scan your when a resume scans into the ATS, so once you hit apply online, most often your resume is going to then go through an ATS before it gets to the hiring manager. If the ATS can't read that information, which we call parsing, if it can't parse or read that information and put it into your candidate profile in the ATS, that information will just get lost and you won't be searchable. I'm going to show you a little bit more. I'm going to show you a real ATS in a couple minutes. So the other half of this optimizing your resume for an ATS is tailoring your resume using keywords. So with Jobscan, what we do is we compare your the job description that you're interested in applying to your resume. And we want to try to match as many of the keywords in that job description as we can. Keywords, top skills, and job titles. So I'll show you how that works in Jobscan after this. And just a little bit about Jobscan. Our users have seen 3 times more interviews, 132% more LinkedIn profile views. That's due to our LinkedIn optimization tool, which I'm going to show you. And they've also seen a 46% shortened time to interview. So we're all about just getting you to that interview faster. All right, I'm going to X out of this and bring you to Jobscan. So this is my Jobscan Premium dashboard. It looks very similar to our free dashboard. So if you're a free user, this is probably what you've been seeing too. Quick note about Jobscan Premium. With the free version of Jobscan, you can still run resume scans. You get, I believe, 5 resume scans when you first sign up, and then you get 2 additional scans per month. We also send out email share campaigns where you can get an additional 5 resume scans. You can use Jobscan as a free user for as long as you want. Premium gives you unlimited resume scans, so it just helps expedite that job search process. It also gives you access to our premium tools, which include Power Edit and LinkedIn, both of which I'm going to be showing you today. You do have that opportunity to win 6 months free of Jobscan Premium with our sweepstakes, so make sure you take advantage of that. So what I did when I got to my homepage here was I scrolled down to create new scan. Now this, I had already put in the resume that I'm going to be scanning, but I want to show it to you. So this person, and this is a real Jobscan user, they sent us their resume. It looks great. I mean, it's very visually appealing, and we can tell that they have a lot of information in it. However, the first thing I see when I look at it is that it's busy. It's a little bit hard to read. I don't know where to start, really. Like, my eye automatically goes to the left-hand side of this resume. But if you think about it, if the hiring manager only has 6 or 7 seconds to look at your resume, you don't want the first 2 seconds to be spent on your contact information. You want all of that time to be spent on your experience. So I would do some reformatting to this resume. But before I do that, I want to scan it into Jobscan against a job description. So we found this job description that we thought would be a good match for this person, Philip, who sent us his resume. It's a UI UX designer position at Deloitte. So I actually uploaded this. You can either copy and paste, or you can upload your resume. I uploaded it since it is a PDF, and then I copy and pasted in the job description. And now I'm going to hit scan. If you've used Jobscan before, you've likely noticed this match rate here. So what this just led me to when I hit scan is my match report. The match report is going to show us things like searchability, skills, recruiter tips, formatting, and then you can scan in a cover letter if you're doing that as well. But over here on the left-hand side, you'll see this match rate. Now it says that right now I have a low match rate. If you've seen that before, it can be really discouraging. But I'm going to show you that, we can get that match rate up, and we will. We suggest a match rate of 75% in order to be as searchable as possible within ATS. A lot of our career counselors and recruiters that have presented on No Fear this week have said that they've seen success with a 65% up. So, any changes you're making, any increase to your match rate is making you more competitive than you were when you started, and certainly more competitive than other applicants who are not using Jobscan. So let's see. I think what I'm going to do is first show you, before I go through our match report. No, I think I'll wait. I'm going to go through the match report first. So first here is the searchability section. We look for things like contact info. For example, we did not find a phone number in this resume. Some recruiters prefer to call you via phone. So you might want to add a phone number. This person may just not have added it because of privacy reasons, since they are a real Jobscan user. They did provide an email, however, and a physical address. All of those make you more searchable, or your address makes you more searchable. Certainly your location, your zip code make you more searchable by any recruiters that are looking for somebody in a certain region. So then we look for job title match. Now I can tell right off the bat that for some reason, the scan tool pulled out this job title of framer, which is not accurate. So what I can do actually is edit the title of this position, and I am going to change it to UI UX designer. So you do have the ability to make a lot of adjustments after you run your scan. Okay. So I'm not sure that actually would have updated on the match report, so we'll just skip that part for now. We're also going to look for things like education match. This is really important because if a job is requiring a certain degree and you don't have that degree, you likely will not get hired. I mean, very likely will not get hired for that position. So we always just want to make sure that you're applying for jobs that you're qualified for, because trust me, I know how disheartening it is when you're applying for all these jobs and you just don't hear anything back. So we want your time and effort on applications to be going toward positive results. And we want you to hear back as often as you can. And that isn't going to happen if you're applying for jobs that just aren't the right match for you. So if you go through your match report and you make all the changes you possibly can to your resume, and you still have a low match rate, I mean, 30% or below, I think that's a really good indication that maybe the types of jobs that you're applying to aren't actually the best jobs for your skills and experience. So I think you should, be honest with yourself about those things. However, it's really typical to start with a low match rate. Like my match rate right now isn't even tracking. It's just low match rate. And this is a good job for this resume. So give it some time, make edits where you can and try to get that match rate up as much as you can. We also are looking for things like section headings. We want to make sure that the work experience section and the education section especially are searchable by the ATS. We want to make sure they can read those sections correctly. So don't name those anything funky. You want those to be called work experience and education. Just keep it really simple. The ATS optimized resume is all about keeping it simple. And then date formatting. You do want your dates to be searchable in the ATS. So for some reason, our dates are not formatting correctly. I'll want to check that out in a few minutes. And then file type. All of this looks good. If there was an issue, you could find out more if there was a red X. So the next section here is hard skills. We're definitely going to go through this section more because hard skills are the biggest way to raise your match rate is just adding these hard skills in. These are those keywords I mentioned at the beginning that are really going to make your resume searchable and make it come up at the top of that ATS search list. Just a couple of things I'll show you about this section though. We have something called keyword variations here. If you see this symbol, these 3 dots next to a keyword, that means that you have a variation of that keyword somewhere in your resume. In this case, the keyword is envision, and it says that I have Invisio in my resume. So I'll want to look at that and see if there's an easy way to just turn that into the keyword envision, because that's a super easy raise in my match rate. Definitely focus on any of the keywords that have a red X. These are also in order of most important keywords. So start at the top and work your way down. As a rule of thumb, when you're doing a resume scan, you'll want to try and add each skill to your resume as many times as it's in the job description. So because marketing is in the job description 3 times, if I can add it to my resume 2 more times, that'll just make me more competitive. It'll make me more searchable. And that's because when you're in it, when a hiring manager is searching within the ATS, anybody who has, if say they search for marketing, if I have marketing in my resume 3 times and someone else has it in their resume 1 time, my resume will pop up a little bit higher on that list than theirs will. So keyword frequency is important. And then the other thing that's cool about this section is if you click on the keyword here, it'll show you where it appears in your resume versus where it appears in the job description. This is most helpful if you are trying to add a keyword to your resume for the first time and you're wondering how they're using that keyword, because you want to try and use it in a similar way. So the next section here, always make sure you hit show more, by the way, that'll unlock a whole bunch of other keywords. The next section is soft skills. Soft skills won't raise your match rate quite as much as hard skills, but they're definitely still important. I think it was one of our presenters, Monica Fochman, this week, who talked about the importance of soft skills. If you didn't catch her session, you can catch that on YouTube. If it's not already up this week, it will be next week. So same deal here with soft skills. You can see that they're mentioned in the job description a couple of times each. So I would add innovative into my resume. I think that's an easy enough one for most people to add. Hands-on, passionate. So if any of these really apply to you, and there's an easy way to really naturally work those into your resume, I would definitely give that a try. We also have other keywords. These are keywords that aren't they aren't defined by the ATS as either soft skills or hard skills, but they can indicate things like industry specific lingo. So they're important to take a quick look at. You know, they won't make as much of a difference, and they're probably going to be used less often by the hiring manager or recruiter to search in the ATS. But like I said, it's worth taking a look. Maybe maybe you have tons of digital experience and it's like a super easy fix to just throw that into your resume 1 or 2 more times. So I think that's worth taking a look at. And then recruiter tips is the only section in your match report that isn't actually about an applicant tracking system. Recruiter tips are all about what happens once you are found by the recruiter or hiring manager. So we just asked our recruiter and hiring manager contacts the things that they look for. And one of those is word count. I know several of our presenters this week have said a 1 to 2 page resume is best. Certainly you don't need to stress having a 2-page resume, but we look for, in general, resumes less than 1,000 words. I can't say for sure how many pages that is, but 1,000 words is pretty long. So I think in most cases you'll be fine with 2 pages under 1,000 words. Then we look for measurable results. Measurable results are quantifiable statistics, like anything like percentages, dollar amounts. Here, if I click this info button, it'll show me. Things like supervised up to 25 employees, reduced labor costs by more than 15%. So, money, people, tasks that you can talk about using numbers, time saved, amount of time saved, things like that. Those are measurable results. These are pretty much things that prove how you have performed in the past, things that prove your value to a company and that aren't just talk. So down here, we also look for words to avoid, and a lot of these are buzzwords. Things like best of breed, synergy, results driven. I think of measurable results as like the complete opposite of those. It's basically like, I know that I can do well in this job because these are the things I've already done. Even if you're a recent college grad, you have measurable results. Even if you're changing careers, you have measurable results that will apply to whatever career you are looking to change to. I mean, any job in any industry will appreciate you having time management skills or people management skills. Maybe you managed a team of 7 people. That's a great measurable result. So I just think of my resume as having a limited amount of space. And what can I do with that resume? What can I fill it with to make sure that I'm using that space in the best way possible? So what I would probably go to next is my Power Edit tool. So like I said before, this resume that I scanned in is kind of a busy resume, and I can already tell just looking at the format of it that the ATS is not going to like how this is formatted. What I mean by that is, remember before in the match report, it said that my years of experience were not noticeable. So when I scroll down here and look at my years of experience, I can see that this year here, 2022, was actually cut off when it scanned in. This isn't a Jobscan issue. This is an ATS issue. So our tool mimics the ATS. So if the date was cut off here due to formatting, it would also be cut off when scanning through an ATS. So the cool thing about Power Edit, it's our live editing tool. You can click right in here and make changes to your resume. So I could go in and just update these dates real quick. And the other thing that I might look at, yeah, I can see that some of these other words were cut off as well. And let's just take a look. So Adobe InDesign, it's missing the N at the end of InDesign. And say that I was looking through an ATS. So this is the Greenhouse ATS. It's one of the more common applicant tracking systems. This is what it would really look like. This is our dummy account that we're just using for these sharing purposes. But I have added our candidate in here, Philip Lindsay. Now, if I search Adobe InDesign, there are no results. So the ATS was not able to find that keyword in any of the resumes, even though we know that that keyword is in Philip Lindsay's resume. It's just that it's missing that N at the end of the word. This is why it's so important to use exact versions of keywords, because most ATS, while they're getting better at scanning text in resumes, you're always better safe than sorry. And in this case, with all of the keywords being cut off, it's really important to make sure you fix those. So what I would probably do, because the formatting is causing so many issues with this resume, is I would just completely rebuild it. I think how I would do that is to probably use our resume builder. I'm going to show you our resume builder really quick. So what you could do is just go to build my resume, create a new resume. You can choose from a few of our templates here, and then you can put in your information. So for the sake of time, we already went through and reformatted the resume using our resume builder. So let me show you that. I'm going to expand this in case you can't see it. So this is the reformatted version. So there are a couple of changes we made here. We, first of all, updated those dates. We got rid of that formatting, the column on the side, and we just made it a really simple resume. If you're somebody that likes to have that really pretty resume, you can totally keep that. Use it for your interview. Once you get the interview, bring it to your interview and you can hand it to the hiring manager then. An ATS optimized resume is different than your, pretty resume written, perfect, beautiful resume. So let's see, I want to make sure I mention what we changed. We also took out some of the experience that was irrelevant. So since this person's applying for a UI UX job, that experience is super valuable. However, you'll notice that before, he had all this other work experience. He had his UI UX design experience, but then he included all this other work experience that really isn't relevant. He's a teaching artist, a communications intern, and an ensemble actor. That takes up almost half of the body of his resume, and it's not relevant to this position. This space is valuable. So we removed all that experience. And I think that might be it. Then we just reformatted it. So I'm going to take the new reformatted version. And sometimes it helps, like, obviously, to scan your resume first into Jobscan to see kind of what's my match rate, what are they suggesting, and take a look at Power Edit and see like how it didn't scan in right to Power Edit. So I know that that's a major problem, just like we're doing now. So I'm going to copy and paste this resume. Make sure I get the whole thing. I know there are a lot of questions. I will get to those shortly. Go back to Jobscan. And I'm going to run a new scan. So there's my new formatted resume. And then let's grab that same job description. This job description is from Indeed. You can really take them from any job board. You want to copy and paste the entire job description. So I'm going to take it right under this full job description heading, all the way down to, most of that how you'll grow section. Paste that in, hit scan. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is go right to Power Edit. And I'm going to start making some changes. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to change this skills section These really are all actual design tools. And I remember that design tools was one of my keywords. So that just brought my match rate up 2 percentage points. And I probably would also make these bullet points. And actually, I just caught here that keyword before, it was saying that I had put Invisio. I bet that had been cut off too, because I see here that it says Envision. So I'm going to just put these in a line like this, and then Power Edit will actually let you add formatting like bullet points. So I can do that right here. So I'm just going to highlight all of these. Add bullet points. Bullet points are fine with ATS, as long as they're like normal bullet points and not some fancy design or character. And then I'm going to bold that heading. Also go ahead and bold these. So the design tool section is great to have. I'm also going to add a skills section so that we can easily add some of these things in. So the first keyword that it's telling me over here in this list, which is the same list as the hard skills list from before, it's prioritizing the most important keywords. It's GPS, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me based on the job position that I'm looking at. So I'm going to go back to my resume report for a minute, and I'm going to find that term here, GPS. And I want to see what they're talking about. So Deloitte's government and public services practice. So the scan tool pulled out government and public services in parentheses GPS, and it's mistakenly saying that that's a skill. So what I can do, because I know that's not relevant, is I can go back here. I can hit report, and I can say not a skill. You can also choose to exclude that keyword from all future scans, but I'm not going to do that just in case. But in this case, I'm going to submit and rescan. And we'll have to see in Power Edit how much that raised our match rate. But now I'm going to go back to Power Edit. So it looks like it brought it up at least 1%, just getting rid of that GPS term. So Microsoft Azure, I think is how you say it. That's another design tool. So I'm going to go in and add that. I'm assuming that this person has that skill. Obviously, if they don't, they wouldn't want to add it. So that raised me to a 31%. I think a 31% will be out of that low match score rate back on our match report. Marketing. I know I can probably add marketing a couple of times. You know, if we weren't a little bit crunched on time, I would try to do that a little bit more seamlessly. But I think for the sake of time, I may just add it in at the end of a sentence here, just so you can see how that'll raise your match rate. So that raised me to a 32%, and since it's mentioned in the job description 3 times, I could actually add it a 3rd time. Obviously, this isn't how you would do it. So then I'm up to a 34%. Wireframing. See, I can see right here, that already caught my eye. Wireframes is in there. But the term it's looking for is wireframing. So I think what I'm going to do is just change that to like wireframing, using Sketch wireframing capabilities. Did I spell that right? Yeah, so just changing that keyword that I already had to a different variation raised my match rate. Then I'm going to add consulting, assuming that I do have experience consulting. Again, I'm just going to add it to the end of this. And you kind of get the point. So I would just go through and focus on these hard skills. However, we did create the skills section before, and I think that's a good place to start adding some of them. So say I have storytelling experience. Maybe I have digital design experience. I know from looking at this user's resume that they do have usability testing skills. And then presentation skills, it's easy to add. I think most of us probably have presentation skills in one way or another. Let's see, I want to get to a 50% just to say that I did. So I don't think I would add design system or growth strategy in the skills section, but I maybe would add it somewhere up here. I don't know enough about UI UX to know where I would add that. So let's stick it over here. But I want to show you that just really by changing some of your formatting and making changes to keywords you already have, adding keywords that are already relevant to you, that you can get that match rate up. So I'm already at a 51%. And, you know, like I said, a lot of our career counselors this week have said that a 65% will make you really competitive. And I did that all within the last, 20 minutes really. So let's see, is there anything else I want to talk to you about before moving on from this? Oh, you know what? The other thing I changed that I forgot to mention is in the PDF version, our applicant had these kind of confusing job titles: Apple iOS FaceTime, Common Pantry, Satellite. You know, me, if I'm the hiring manager, I'm going to look at that and be like, I don't know what that means. Maybe they would if they're more familiar with these things, but I think that that's a really good place where you could add that UI UX job title. And the other thing I would do is flip this around, because on his resume, he has UX UI. Might not seem like a big deal, but I would flip that to UI UX so that that search term is just automatically on your resume. So what I did was I changed each of those job experience or work history titles. I changed them to UX case study, UI case study, and UX case study. We actually know that those are the correct job titles because my colleague Sydney, who went through all of this with me, she looked at this user's actual online portfolio and saw that that's what they were titled. So we know that those are legitimate. And let's see. Yeah, and these are just, I mean, it's important to be searchable within the ATS, but it's also important because the hiring manager is going to want to see that you have these skills. So it's not all about the ATS. Your resume, if you're optimizing it with keywords, you're still going to be impressing the hiring manager and you're going to be more competitive, even if they're just seeing your regular resume. All right, I think that that is all I wanted to show you in the match report. I do very quickly want to show you LinkedIn optimization. What I've been using this whole time was our Power Edit tool once again. That is a Jobscan Premium feature. So if you don't have Jobscan Premium, you will still see your match report, this here. But when you are making edits to your resume, you'll have to do that in the actual like Word doc that you're using, and then you'll have to rescan. And each one of those rescans does count as a scan. So just keep that in mind. And you will not see Power Edit here on the left side unless you're a premium user. LinkedIn optimization is also a premium tool. I'm tempted to look at these questions real quick. I think I will. I'm just going to see if there's anything that I can address right now. Please explain more about unconventional formats that cannot be parsed by the ATS. So really what you should think about is columns, tables, and text boxes. Anything that's requiring the ATS to read your information like in a different, I don't know how to explain it. Just those three things are what you should avoid. That's that unconventional formatting. Bullet points, like I said, are fine. I would probably avoid even like a header and footer. I would just keep it really, really simple. Bolded text is perfectly fine. You can do bolded headings. But any like symbols won't do well with the ATS. Sorry, I'm just seeing, can I make my shared screen bigger? Yeah, if you prefer to relocate away from your current residence area, you could still include your location. You could potentially, if you have plans to move, you could include that new location that you're moving to. Or if you're relocating, you could just take the location off altogether. Someone noticed that when they did a scan, it only picked up present tense and not past tense. It's going to pick up whatever the tense is in the job description. So if the job description is using present tense versions of the keywords, that's exactly what the ATS is going to pick up. So you just want to make sure you're adjusting your resume based on that tense. The predicted, oh, it just went away. The predicted hard skills. Yeah, so the predicted skills on your match report, sometimes you'll see that term next to some of the hard skills. Those predicted skills don't affect your match rate in either direction because they're not skills that were actually on that job description that you scanned, but they've been on other similar job descriptions that our users have scanned in. So we call those out just to say, hey, these might be valuable to you, but if you add them, you're not going to see your match report adjust. I don't know for sure if you can hide those. I don't think you can like bulk hide them, but you may be able to do what I did before and report those to get rid of them. But you don't really need to because they won't affect your match rate either way. I think I'm going to show you LinkedIn optimization really quickly, and then I'll get to more of these questions. So LinkedIn optimization works a lot like our resume scan tool. The goal of it is to make your LinkedIn profile more searchable by recruiters. I had this written down from another presentation earlier this week. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Jasmine Escalera the other day was one of our presenters, and she said that 87% of recruiters use LinkedIn to source candidates. And I thought, I need to remember that stat. So just like a Google search, just like an ATS search, LinkedIn optimization allows anybody to search by keyword to find candidates or to find, people using LinkedIn profiles. So LinkedIn optimization is just a way to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is going to be visible. So this works a lot like our resume scan tool. Since I've been in here before, I can just hit refresh LinkedIn profile. Got to sign back in, apparently. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is go to my LinkedIn profile. This is just my public page. I'm going to hit that more button and then select save to PDF. And this is saving a PDF version of my LinkedIn profile. I always think too, it's kind of a nice place to start if you need to make a brand new resume. If you just export your LinkedIn profile, it gives you kind of a nice jumping off point because it just looks like a resume and includes a lot of the same information. So then I'm going to hit upload LinkedIn PDF to Jobscan. I'm going to find it. Hopefully, profile. And then the next step here, let me make this bigger. The next step here is to either paste in 3 job descriptions. that are of interest to you, or to select them from other job descriptions that you've already scanned into Jobscan. If you have not run scans on Jobscan, you won't have anything here, and you'll just want to paste in 3 different job descriptions, one at a time. The reason we do 3 instead of 1 is because you don't want your LinkedIn profile to be super specific to one job. You want it to be specific to the type of jobs or the industry that you're interested in, so that you're casting a wider net than you would be if you were just applying for one job. So I'm going to avoid these 2 because my experience is not in UX. Instead, I'm going to select some of these other marketing type positions. And then I'm going to hit scan. So it's bringing me to a match report that looks a lot like the one that I showed you before. Typically, your match rating with a LinkedIn scan is going to be higher. The reason for that is because it's combining all of the skills from all 3 of those job descriptions. So you're just more likely to have skills listed in your resume from 3 job descriptions. You'll also notice that the keyword variation from the job descriptions is a lot higher. Again, that's because it's adding them all together from those 3 job descriptions. Do not try to add marketing 35 times to your LinkedIn profile. That rule of thumb doesn't really apply with LinkedIn optimization, but I would focus on the same areas. So I would definitely be spending a lot of time on this key skills section. These are our hard skills or our keywords. I would definitely want to look at this and make sure that everything was tracking. So job title match, one of the jobs that I scanned against was a communications manager job. If that was a position that is important to me, then I'd want to find a way to adjust my job title. I don't have measurable results that are searchable, at least, so I'd want to go in and look at those. I'd also want to make some changes to my headline and to my profile summary, which is 0 words. So I'd want to go in and create a profile summary. So that's kind of the gist of LinkedIn optimization. I know I went through that pretty quickly, but once you understand how to run a resume scan, you kind of understand the LinkedIn profile scan as well. Okay, I want to get to questions because I know we have just about 10 minutes left. Let's see, I'm going to skip to the end here because I want to see if some of the other questions may have gotten answered as I continued talking. Yeah, how high of a percentage is desirable? Talking about match rate. So like I said, any changes you make, any raise in your match rate is going to make you more competitive. We always have suggested 80%. 75 to 80% is really going to get you in a good spot. However, like I mentioned before, 2 or 3 of our speakers this week have said that they use Jobscan with their clients and that they've seen success with 65%. So I would just do as much as you can. If you have exhausted all the keywords, any formatting changes you can make, and you're at a 65%, then that's where you're at, and you're a lot more competitive than those who are applying with a 30%. Some LinkedIn questions here. I would we had a couple, 1 or 2 presenters this week on LinkedIn. If you didn't catch those sessions, I would check those out on our YouTube channel. They really are bigger experts on LinkedIn than I am. Is it possible to have access to previous summit? We do have our No Fear webinar series from the 2 past years on our YouTube channel as well. And I mentioned at the beginning, in case you were late, this is our last presentation of the day. We were supposed to have one this afternoon that I was going to be running. That was basically what you just saw, our how to use Jobscan webinar, but we combined the one this morning with that one. So you still basically saw both by attending this event. Let's see, looking through these questions. Oh, Philip, you're here. Thank you for your resume. We will say, yeah, we will share that edited version with you. And yeah, I mean, we used Philip's resume because it's a great resume. And that is one of the things that I think people have a hard time with is they have this great resume and they scan it into Jobscan and they get a low match rate. So it can be a really beautifully written, cohesive resume, and it can at the same time not be optimized for ATS. So I think that his resume was a really good example of that. Yeah, someone says, how do you change how do you say past tense work experience in the present tense if they were done in the past? I think either you have to change your whole resume to present tense and that might just sound weird to you to have that in present tense, or you make the decision to not include the exact keyword, which if it were me, I would just change it all to present tense. I think people do. I think my resume is my keywords are present tense. I don't think that's that uncommon to do. So that would be my recommendation. Would converting a Word document with text boxes to PDF resolve the text box issue? No, I don't think so, because the resume that we used in this example was a PDF and it still didn't scan correctly. Quick note, a lot of people ask if a Word doc file or a PDF is best. And I have quizzed our speakers this week on that because I wanted to know what they think too. Most people say both are fine. A PDF is fine and it's scannable as long as you can highlight it. So like I was able to highlight Philip's resume, which means that the information that's not in text boxes, not in columns, will be scannable. If you get into your PDF and you can't highlight it, then the ATS won't be able to read it. So as long as you can do that quick test and it works out, then you're fine. Does making the skills bullet points not lengthen your resume page? It might, but I don't think page length is as important as word count. I think if the bullet points are going to make it easier to skim your resume in that 6 or 7 seconds, even if it brings your resume to 2 pages, I think that's worth it. Does putting your physical address expose you to prejudice and reduce your chances? I don't think physical address would do that as much as we've talked a lot about ageism this week, and I do want to bring that up. I think one of the things that our speakers have taught us this week is that with education, if you're worried about ageism and that sort of prejudice, I would keep your dates off of your education so people can't see when you graduated. And another tip was to make sure your email address is like a Gmail address or a personal email provider rather than one of the like more outdated email providers like Hotmail, Yahoo, Comcast. Instead switch to something like Gmail that just is more with the times and makes you appear like you kind of understand what's going on with the current times more. Yes, this presentation will be on our YouTube channel next week. Should we still make a change to a keyword to include the exact version if it'll stop making sense grammatically? Some of this is going to be, you kind of do need to make those individual calls. Sometimes with tense, I would change my whole resume tense. If it's one word that's going to screw things up grammatically and there's not an easy way around it, then I maybe wouldn't change that keyword. The end goal is always to get your resume in front of the hiring manager, and you don't want it to sound crazy once it does get in front of them. I thought we were supposed to incorporate the keywords into the descriptions and avoid lists. Skills lists are great, and they also make your resume optimization faster. I think a skills list is totally fine. The recruiters that we've talked to say the same thing. And that, what was the other list we made in that? Design tools. I think that's another, just like skills, that's an easy way to skim them. It's an easy way to add them to your resume if you have a master resume that you're editing. Where you can add them into your experience, that's great. But I think if they're definite skills or tools and you want to create those sections, it's perfectly fine to do that. We'll probably get to one more question. About having a skills section with keywords in it. If the keyword is an actual skill, that's okay. You don't want to have like something you call a skills section and then just throw keywords in just to get through the ATS, because like I said, you want to eventually get in front of the hiring manager. Someone says Azure was spelled wrong. I thought that too. I didn't think that was spelled correctly. The job description must have spelled it wrong.
Paige, if I may, there's a question I wanted to answer too, because I'm really excited about the answer actually.
Sure.
So someone asked, could Jobscan provide a new feature to show industry specific skills per job title? So even if it's not in the job description, could there be like a recommendation of what skills the recruiter might still be looking for? Yes, we actually are in the process of adding that feature. Our engineering team just updated us this week on getting that started. And so we are plugging into an API that has lists of skills per job. And this tool has like hundreds of jobs there. And so just so many skills listed. And we're going to be pulling that into the scan results tool. So you should start seeing more predicted skills, more suggested skills that maybe aren't on the job description, but we can still help you to see the skills that you should highlight on your resume.
Yeah. And by the way, we always love that feedback. Like I said, I've been with Jobscan for more than 6 years. The tools that I've seen come out since I've been here, I think both Power Edit and LinkedIn optimization have come out since I started here. Those were both immediate responses to our users' feedback. So Power Edit was a way to make resume optimization quicker and more efficient. And LinkedIn optimization was to make them more searchable, which was feedback from users. So thank you for that. We always welcome that. And our goal is always to make your job search easier and quicker. So I think we can go ahead and end there. The promo code, as a reminder, is jobscan.co/promo/nofear2022. And once again, this is the last presentation of the week. So thank you everybody so much for joining. And one thing I meant to say earlier was it's Veterans Day, and I wanted to thank any veterans who may be on this call for your service. So we're very grateful. Thank you, everybody. We've had a really great time this week, and we're so glad you are all here with us.